coming from the west to execute leadership and command.
One of the major tasks facing the Bundeswehr is getting rid of one of the largest weapons and military equipment arsenals in the world, with 1.5 million firearms alone.
We were bewildered by the masses of material, spare parts, vehicles, weaponry, which we had to take into custody. The reason is twofold. First of all, the National People's Army had to take over military equipment of all kinds from other military or paramilitary organizations of the totally militarized German Democratic Republic.
General von Schaven says commercial firms have taken over the task of melting the East German swords into plowshares. Much of the weaponry and ammunition is being destroyed. When possible, other military equipment is sold or donated. This is one of 50 equipment assembly areas the Bundeswehr has set up throughout East Germany, where tons of arms, ammunition, and vehicles of the National Volksarmee, or NVA, were readied for either destruction or resale. Most of the weaponry and ammunition has already been disposed of in the 13 months since the Bundeswehr took over, but hundreds of trucks and other vehicles remain.
We have to dispose of hundreds of trucks, ammunition, which is given away already. We have no ammunition here, and millions of spare parts, I would say, little ones, big ones, so it's several thousand tons have to be disposed of, have been disposed of, and some tons are left for the winter.
The soldiers assigned to this caserne are for the most part former members of the NVA and have mixed feelings about disposing of the equipment which they trained on and maintained. But they will soon be getting new Bundeswehr standard equipment to replace the old Warsaw Pact-built vehicles. And this base will become a new supply center for the Bundeswehr's Eastern Command. Getting the job done is a real challenge. Where once 300 soldiers were assigned, now only half as many face a much bigger job.
We have not enough personnel which is trained to do the jobs here, which is quite normal. The NVA people were not accustomed to this kind of job. We have a great lack of draftees. Only 40-50% are here right now, because all this builds up very slowly.
Many of these vehicles were stored here. In the case of war, the East German Army used this as a kind of a Pomke site, a storage site. Now they're stored here, looking for new buyers, or perhaps eventually to be junked. In addition to the equipment, the Bundeswehr also inherited some previously top-secret military installations. This above-ground bunker was designed to protect the troops of the Luftwaffe during World War II. After the war, the NVA, the new East German Army, used these bunkers for the same purpose. But the real action, the command structure, is underground, in a huge complex right under this hill. The Luftwaffe commander, Field Marshal Hermann Göring, had a special train which took him to a hillside entrance of his underground headquarters. When the National Volksarmee, the NVA, took over the complex, they built a series of tunnels in the 60s connecting their headquarters buildings with the wartime command center. Our guide through the complex once worked for the NVA as a communications specialist and now has the same job with the Bundeswehr as it figures out what it wants to do with the bunkers. The bunker complex is still fully operational and access is controlled from within.
Ja, Richter, Freigabe, Ausgang 1.
In between the access door and the command center itself is a decontamination room for disposal of any chemical, nuclear, or biologically contaminated clothing, as well as shower facilities. The actual complex itself is located between two parallel corridors. The wartime command center's commander was a lieutenant general, deputy to the NVA commander. From here, he could view activity in the various centers. The furnishings are relatively Spartan. The chiefs of the various branches, air, artillery, armor, and so forth, met at the heart of the command center, with their place at the table individually marked. Each commander had his own two-way communications with his staff in other parts of the bunker. The kitchen area could prepare meals for 150 people at a time. During war, the bunker could hold 300 people. The complex, which was built in 1936, is 75 feet underground. It has its own water source and diesel power generators. The NVA stocked the complex with enough food, oil, and other supplies to hold out underground for 2 weeks. Our guide explained that the East German troops were told conditions outside should have cooled off enough 2 weeks after a nuclear war to leave the bunker. It was only after the collapse of the communist system that they learned that that probably was not true. In Potsdam, Gary Bautell, AFN News.
And when we come back, a look at Fifth Corps exercise Victory Bastion.
Up until last year, their image of America was based on what they saw in the movies and heard from their communist leaders.
Their big dream is going to the States. How they could do that, what they need to know about the States. I think this is what the Air Force people could do to our students. Tell them as much as they can about their country.
Representatives from Tempelhof Air Base are working to enlighten students with a program called Spokespersons for America. Air Force members travel to classrooms where they talk about their experiences and answer students' questions.
I found it very impressive to get something about the U.S. Air Force.
His personal facts about his life in the United States and in Berlin, and his interests of music, for instance.
It's very interesting for me to learn new things about America.
While the students gain more information about America and practice their language skills, Colonel Ronald Nelson says the airmen who take part also benefit from the exchange of ideas.
And I think it was a good opportunity for me to perhaps let them know that we are interested in them, that we have an interest in being here, and that hopefully we're as welcome all over Germany as we think we would like to be.
As this forum came to a close, both sides felt a new closeness that reaffirmed its central theme. East and West can work together despite the differences developed between us in the past. From Berlin, Air Force Sergeant Scott Gomer, AFN News.
In the rapid growing world of computer technology, knowledge becomes merely a keystroke away. Air Force Sergeant Tom Gurin has this report on the John F. Kennedy Library in Berlin entering the computer age.
Finding a specific book in a library used to mean you had to know the author, the title, or the subject, and then you had to search through a paper card catalog. Well, thanks to a grant from the U.S. government, students at John F. Kennedy School now have a computerized catalog system that's a real time saver. Librarian Barbara Stewart.
With this new system, there's also called a keyword search. And the students are making great use of this. They learn Boolean logic, which means they can combine words with and, or, and not, and therefore increase their search. They also can search under key phrase, which is very useful for us and for the teachers when we're looking up series of books, for example. The students are able to write down their numbers, or even if they have a long list, say they have 20 books, we can even print a bibliography for them so that they do not have to write down every bit of information. They can take the bibliography and go to the shelf.
And the new system also means faster, more efficient checkout of books through a barcode system.
Each student and each book and each parent and each member of the community who comes in to check out books is assigned a barcode. And we can assign these ourselves and also make the barcodes ourselves with our printer. So we're pretty much able to handle the system on our own.
The computerized catalog and barcoding checkout system at John F. Kennedy School means students now have better access to knowledge. Air Force Sergeant Tom Guerin, AFN Berlin.
The AIDS virus, more and more, it's becoming the focus of world attention, particularly when a nationally known sports figure announces that he has it. Userist Charlie Gill reports how a group of American high school students took time recently to send best wishes to NBA star Magic Johnson and learn something in the process.
Hundreds of notes of support for Magic Johnson after his public admission of testing positive for HIV. But these signatures also mean that students are getting more information about the spread of AIDS. In any school system, how to best approach teaching kids about AIDS is a touchy subject. In this case, Youth Services Coordinator Rebecca Mahan worked closely with parents and teachers to find ways of explaining.
We had a Parents and AIDS program about a month ago, and some parents attended that and were very supportive, but we're trying to educate the whole community. The faculties of both the middle school and the high school have been very supportive.
On this night, there will also be another seminar about AIDS with students and parents both taking part. For now, just wishing their hero well is a start.
I was wishing he would get better, and it really wasn't true.
Magic Johnson, he's my basketball idol, and I'm from LA too, and I'd just like to say hi to him, and this is a good idea.
Rebecca Mahan also says her community must find ways to continually educate young people about the virus. High school junior Clarice Nelson says she agrees students need to know more.
But there's some people who aren't taking it seriously and who aren't going to these education programs or whatever.
With support from the community and parents, it is hopeful these children will have the knowledge to protect themselves and their futures. In Mannheim, with the Houston Public Affairs Office, Charlie Gill for AFN News.
Chili cook-offs, one of those American traditions that's become a tradition with the military.